The garage is empty for a change, and this is a 356 video, so I'm gonna give you a big update on that car. I'll explain at the end, but it's gone. It's at a paint shop. While it's gone, I'm going to fix some components like these hubcaps. I had borrowed some hubcaps for the West Coast holiday from Mike Grant, thank you very much. But I need to fix my own, and so I have a whole bunch of them. These all fit the C-style cars, which have the disc brake wheels. And this one is a restored hubcap. This is one of the ones I borrowed from Mike. So we want to get kind of to this level. So starting with the earliest of the lot, these are the smoothie ones, and these are labeled on the back. So in this region right here, it says Lemers, 9230-363. So this would be March of 1963. My car was built in April of 64. So these probably aren't correct for my car, but these do have some value because they are for an early C and they are original. Some of those identifying marks can be hard to see, so I'm just putting a little phospho acid on the back of these so we can just verify that they are indeed all four originals. I think this is a match set. I don't want to restore any reproduction ones. They're not that expensive to buy. It's kind of interesting. There's like a little bit of copper showing through here, which could be, it's like splattered on there. I don't know what that's from. This one has a really nasty dent on it. I'm not sure this one can be fixed. So this might be a good practice one because this dent is right near the inner structure. In fact, the inner structure is dented too. At least 3 of these are original. This one here on top is just a little bit different construction. It looks like it's been maybe painted before or it's just not marked. The rolled edge on this one is slightly more round. It's like a different profile than this one. This one is crimped down pretty flat. And then this set is a match set of 266. So February 1966. These have the slightly gold crest on them. And then this is a match set of VD. Little triangle logo that's on a lot of Porsche parts. So I don't know if these were later reproductions, but they are made by a company that certainly supplies Porsche stuff. So these have like different crest attachment things. These are like nut plates. And then this is a set of 1965. These are Lemers 4 of 65. So it's a year off of my car, but these are definitely for a 356. It looks like it has one replacement nut. It typically has these plastic push nuts, and it has the somewhat polished crest. Maybe at some point I'll trade for the right actual month and year, but to me it's more important just to have an original part that works. So to get started, I'm gonna go with this really difficult to repair one. This is the one that's got a big gouge. It looks like it's gotten run over. So I'm going to take this apart, which means unfolding this hemmed edge and releasing the inner part from the outer skin. This is something that's trashed already, so we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna use a little heat, I think. And to clamp this down, I just have this, piece of wood with a hole cut in it. It sort of holds it in place, and then I'm just gonna put this on the diagonal and just use some wood clamps to get it roughly held down. I think that'll be better. Now I'm able to pry a little bit easier. I don't know if this is stainless steel as well. Let me check with a magnet. So it seems like it might be steel. Actually, so I'm pretty sure this is stainless steel, but it's like a 400 series stainless, which is magnetic. It feels like it's about the same. Before I work on this one, I want to try to, hammer out all this and see if it can be repolished, because it's got a big digger right there in the corner. So I'm just going to rough out this big dent using my body hammer, and then we'll go through and try to really take all the dents out of it so it's a mirror finish. This metal polish is basically just cleaning at this point. So we'll start to see some hammer marks in there, and they're less severe than the scratch marks. But this will give us a better idea of the reflection and any rough spots that we need to take care of now before we move on to the more finer metal finishing step. And I'm also going to polish the inside because I want to be able to see reflections on both sides. So I was mostly focused on these dents, but there are other dents in it, like right there. Little wavy over here, but not really bad. This is the primary spot. I'm going to use this wooden block. It's sort of profiled to meet the same curvature as this. So I'm just going to, use this slapper. This is a little bit heavy for this work, but it's the only one I have. So I'm just going to sit here and slap all the remaining ripples out of this. There's not much to really talk about here other than, basically you're just tapping down the high spots and using this form to raise the low spots. So now with the naked eye, I don't see any more dents or ripples in it. I've done the best I can with the slapper. So now I'm gonna hit it with a sanding block. Probably with something like, I don't know, 220, because I gotta sand scratches out anyways. So as I'm sanding the scratches out, it's gonna probably reveal some more high spots, and then I'll just tap those down as I find them. And this is a wet, dry paper. I've used this a lot on sanding paint, but it's just traditional sandpaper on a foam block, which will conform to the shape. So I'm going in a crisscross pattern. So here is where the heavy damage was. And this, I think, for the most part, will flatten out. I'm gonna, have to remove some metal to get this to flatten out because the scratches are pretty deep. But it is what it is. And then the other areas are just small waves in the panel. I think there's one, ding right here, which, I'm gonna try to level all these out. But Now the trick is to really support it up on the wooden dolly. Now I'm only gonna focus the slapping on the high spots. So it just makes it easier for me to see what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna probably go back to a power sander and just basically level all this flat. All right, so at this point, everything has pretty much been scratched by the sandpaper. So it's, you know, slightly low right there, but I think I'm done hammering on this thing. The scratches that caused all that damage are now sanded out. So I think at this point, it's just polishing through all the grits. So I think it makes sense now before we do all the final sanding is to crimp it back onto the center section and basically fix this first. But let's put it back on here so that as we crimp it, all the wavy edges will get sanded smooth. Yeah, I wired wheeled this on my bench grinder, and it appears that this is maybe steel because it's magnetic, but it has a copper plating on it to prevent it from rusting. Although this did get pitted, it's still usable and I was able to straighten it out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of paint on this side when I put it onto the hubcap. And then this side I'm gonna leave bare because I don't wanna fill up the markings. This is the Lemura's marking and then here's the number. So that might need to be carefully restored so that those markings aren't lost. And I feel like if I just paint it, it's gonna be too hard to engrave those numbers back in there. And these pits should be filled up a little bit before it gets painted on that side. So to keep progress going, I'm going to install it with it unpainted on the outward side. You can always paint this after it's assembled and polished. So I'm gonna marry these two pieces. I put a little bit of primer on there just to protect it somewhat. Okay, this hemmed flange is almost all the way down, so I just need to highlight where it needs a little bit more and finish it up, but it's certainly not loose or coming off. It's on there. Doesn't feel like it's been compromised at all. I'm happy that this edge didn't just crack, because sometimes with these harder materials, you're not able to bend it more than once. But this went back just the way it was. There's no wrinkly edges or anything. So I'm just gonna sand the outside and start polishing all this stuff so it looks like new again. But we want to get any of the previous sandpaper residue off here so it doesn't interfere with the next step. More sanding. Pretty sure I got all the 320 grit scratches out because it's now starting to kind of polish itself. The sandpaper is getting worn and it's kind of turning into a polisher, so I can tell where the scratches are. So now it's time to go to 600 and then that'll be it with the sander, thank God. Does your sander talk back to you like mine? The surface looks pretty uniform to me. I don't see any previous scratch marks. I spent a lot of time with the 400 and the 600, so I think we're ready to polish. I got this wheel barely bolted up, but it's on there, and it's a new one, so I have this black polishing compound, which is pretty coarse. So I'm just gonna load it up on the wheel and then try it on the cap. Okay, that wheel was a little bit out of round in the beginning, so I was struggling a little bit trying to keep this thing from bouncing, but eventually it broke itself in. I was kind of going on the side of the wheel. Eventually it started doing its thing. So this is a pretty aggressive wheel and a pretty aggressive compound, so it's putting scratches in the finish, but it is taking out the sanding scratches, and we're starting to get a pretty nice hubcap. Just got to make sure we got all the sanding scratches out before we switch wheels and go to a softer compound. Okay, this time I have a much softer wheel. It's super floppy and it's a used one, and I'm using this white polishing compound this time. So let's see what this does. Shine is coming back for sure. It looks great. So last step I'm going to do, that was just a little bit of detail spray. Last step is this semi-chrome. And this is, I'm going to put this on with kind of a paint buffing pad. Just because my hands are tired, I don't want to do any more rubbing. So. This is real light pressure, and this stuff seems to be soaking in pretty quick. Yeah, it's like a mirror. It looks great. There are still a few waves in the panel. I'm not gonna say it's absolutely like new. It's a little wrinkly here and there, but it's only if you look far away reflections. You know, I think this, who knows how good they were brand new, but I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, this was just a practice piece, but it is an original and it does have, I think, some value. I learned a lot doing this. I know it seems a little crazy to spend this much time on a hubcap, but you know, this is kind of a hobby and learning experience as we go. So the ones that go on my car, I will take what I learned on this one and just probably make it even a little bit better. There's 2 hubcaps, freshly done. The part that I re-crimped, it really doesn't look any different than it did before. I really like these early ones because the edge of it is so thin, and I think they look better on the wheels because it doesn't sit up proud, it just sits nice and flush. Here's a side-by-side of the one I just fixed on the right, and this is the one that I borrowed from Mike on the left. So the rolled edges are quite a bit different between the earlier ones and possibly a reproduction one. I didn't find any markings on the back of this one, but it has a pretty big rolled edge there. This is the one dated 65. So let's take a look at the back of the crest and see if we can notice any differences. So this is what the back of what I think is the original one. It has the R, it has the 901 kind of part number, and some kind of maybe quality stamp or something that says AR. But it's a reverse impression on the back. I think these are stamped out. So anyways, this one I think is an original and probably worth, you know, straightening these pins and getting it replated. Now these aren't supposed to be chrome. I think these are just like satin or maybe nickel. So I'll talk to the plater and see what they say. But so the minor dents in this one aren't gonna require pulling it apart. I think I can get access to those dents and fix this one and repolish it in a lot less time. But some of them I think are gonna require completely deskinning it and fixing it. So is it really worth saving all these original parts? I mean, that's totally up to you. I think it's worth it. I'm trying to keep all the date codes, everything consistent throughout the car as if it came from the factory like new. Speaking of which, the car is not here, and basically it's at the paint shop and it's getting some paint work redone. So the car was painted a couple years ago, like close to 5 years ago. It's definitely pre-COVID. And it's just taken a long time to complete the car. And in the time that it's taken me to complete the car, some cracks appeared in the paint, it's like micro cracks or real fine, like little worms. If you look super carefully, there's like little worms inside the paint, and you know, they're not polishing out. So the guy who painted it is going to guarantee the work. So he's gonna probably end up repainting the entire car because there's enough defects in enough body panels. It's just too difficult to blend it. There's some on the deck lid, there's some on the hood, there's some on the doors, there's some in the cowl area. So that's where the car is, and it's gonna be with him for, I don't know how long. It's gonna take a couple months. So I paid for a show quality paint job, and it's been a little heartbreaking to not have that. I wanna compete in like one big show, Concours type show, get the car judged, and then just drive it. So the goal is to restore it to like quality 1, Concours level, and then drive it till it's a like level 3, you know, just enjoy the car like it was brand new. That's kind of my goal. But the paint work has been kind of frustrating for me because it's kind of the one thing, besides the interior, it's the one thing I didn't do myself. And you know, that's why it's taken me so long to finish the car, because I didn't want to put the headliner in it. I didn't want to finish all the interior if I knew it was going to go back and get the paint fixed. So it's almost been a year to get the car back into the paint shop and get some of those things fixed. So that's why it's been so sluggish, you guys. Fingers crossed everything comes out okay, but that's the latest update on the 356. Enjoy your cars, and I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.